JJ. I am down to start discussion now. Gabe's not
Yeah,
answering.
yeah,
Fuck it.
he's actually useless.
Can't believe
At
it.
least we are here. We are here doing our part for Sports Banter SK to keep this rolling. That's all we need.
Hmm.
All we need.
Ladies and gentlemen, and that Technicolor rainbow in between. Welcome to SK Sports Banter. Uh, I don't know what to tell you guys. We don't have Gabe here. We apologize. Maybe he'll join us at some point throughout the pod. Maybe we rearrange this part to be last and this part to be first. I don't know. You'll
Yeah,
see him
true.
pop up at some point if he pops up. But my most humble and sincerest of apologies to our viewers because I guess not all of us can be here
Crazy.
or want to be here. Uh, I don't. JJCito, please take it away, man. I don't know what to say.
Well, let's just start it off, man. Right from the top. Let's go over what MVP, Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, yeah, MVP versus
Oh.
Offensive Player of the Year. Would you like to throw in Defensive Player of the Year in there? We don't have to discuss that because I mean whatever, you know.
Yeah. Now,
How about wait before defensive rookie of the year? How about that?
you guys
Um,
if you've been following the rookies, because you're doing better than
what a
me.
yeah. There's a fucking guy. What? Oh my God, I can't remember. Like I can picture his name, but I can't remember where he's from. I think he might be in the Chargers or in the Raiders. But he's been like
J- Jared Verse, Quinion Mitchell.
Mitchell. I think is the one I remember. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We don't have to touch on that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, proceed.
All right, so MVP, right? Let's start there. Remember how we always talked about, well, Saquon or Josh Allen or Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, but
Mhm.
we always come back to the same thing. And I was telling Kev this, like, I don't think they're gonna give MVP to a running back. I don't think that happens. And let's go as
Mhm.
far back past 10 years of MVPs. How many of those you think were running backs? Or how many of those you think was a position outside of QB?
Mm,
When did Adrian Peterson win it?
12.
2012.
2012. Well, obviously our audience doesn't know this, but I don't know how much you saw it, but I was vocal about me thinking McCaffrey should have won it last year. So
Mm-hmm.
that would have been at least one that should have won it last year. I don't fully agree with what's been going on lately, which is just hey MVP QB. I don't agree with that. Uh, Kona, what do
Hmm.
you what do you have to say? I mean,
I
I think Saquon
also,
should win it this year, but
yeah, I also agree. I just feel like the the prejudice towards the QB position is crazy. I mean, everyone always says that it's the most important position, but I also agree. Saquon Barkley is doing things that he would have never done on the Giants, and he's also making a Philadelphia Eagles team a juggernaut. Not only
yeah,
just a great team, just a juggernaut of a team. And
yeah.
for us to see, yeah, the Bills are really good, but and Josh Allen's stat line is really great, but I just can't. I can't be like, okay, it has to go to a quarterback, no matter what. So, but unfortunately, yeah, the is Adrian Peterson the last person to win the MVP?
Yep. And that was a running
Yeah,
back.
and that was what 12 years ago. Like,
In the past 30 years,
oh my goodness.
there have been 6 running backs that have won MVP. The rest were QBs.
That
Wow.
means that you said in the past 30 years, there
Yep.
were six running backs that won MVP, which would mean there were five running backs who won it in 18 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't
Yeah.
Side note, that goes to
yeah
show how much the game has evolved.
Well, yeah,
it
that's
Side
has.
note.
true. I mean, MVP, like, I don't know, the way I see it, and I might be wrong, but, teams are not as successful without the QB. I mean, that's just
A given, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
it's just
dud.
a
That's a
given, right?
dud.
So like when you're
Yeah.
talking about most valuable player, you're not going to have a team. For example, Saquon was as good as he is, right? One of the best running backs in the league. I mean,
Hmm.
he couldn't change that Giants team to a Super Bowl contender.
Hmm.
But you look at the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the Jared Goffs.
JJ, I'm not
In
gonna lie to
turn,
you. I think if you send Josh Allen to that Giants team, I also think they're not a Super Bowl contender. But
I
that's
don't
just me.
I don't know. Look, one thing I was thinking about today, right? I think the Bills have one of the worst wide receiver core in the league. One of the worst. I'm not saying the worst. I do think there are
Hmm.
teams that have a worse wide receiver core, like the Titans, for example,
Hmm.
right? But if you look at all these other teams and look at what Josh Allen has been able to do with what he has, I mean, he just got Cooper. This just happened. He hasn't had him all
Hmm.
season. Shakir has
Hmm.
been hurt. Kincaid has been hurt. They lost 5 captains on defense, which obviously he has nothing to do with. But you got to make up the points on offense if your defense struggles, which we saw that against
Complimentary
the
football.
Rams. Yeah, which we saw that against the Rams, and it still wasn't enough. But he is still managing to win, even with the lack of offensive weapons he has, while Barkley, on the other hand, is in a way better situation than Saquon Barkley as running back on the Eagles is in a way better situation than Josh Allen as QB on the Bills.
Right.
So that's like
How much how much do you guys credit the play calling though?
That's what I'm saying. To touch back on what I had said a couple episodes ago, I don't even remember when I said it. Uh, the intrinsic value of the starting quarterback in a team, nothing can measure up to it. There is no single position that can measure up to just the intrinsic value that a starting quarterback has on a team. So obviously that's already going to be disproportionate. Um, I'd like to, for a little bit, shift away from the Bills conversation and focus a little more on the Eagles side of the conversation. Last year, I mean, the Eagles started out great last year, and they were coming off a Super Bowl the year before. But we saw towards the latter half of the season, they just collapsed. They just collapsed. And it looked like it was heading that way too, at least within the first few weeks of the season this year, until they just fully lead into the run game. I'm not exactly sure what the stats are at this point, but I think Jalen Hurts is like at like a little under 200 yards passing in a game. We already know the stat about his rushing touchdowns. I mean, they've been in. I think they've had 11 red zone. Uh, I think they stopped at the red zone at the one at least. However many times, I think it was 11 times, and out of those 11 times, 10 touchdowns were awarded, all to Jalen Hurts. Only one ended up going to Saquon Barkley. Um, the passing game's obviously been a detriment to the Eagles, which is why I think Saquon, with his ability to just completely break open the game through the running, I think deserves the MVP. Um, we saw what the Eagles were. We saw how they imploded, and we are seeing currently how Saquon's just been bringing the life back into that team, and they've solely been focusing on the rushing, as I said, and trying to stay away from the throwing as much. I think Jalen Hurts just went like 16 for 19 or passed it 19 times only. I don't know what it was, but they are straying away from that, which is why it's making me think that Saquon deserves the MVP. To go back to the Bill side of the conversation from that, excuse me, to go back to the Bill side of the conversation, obviously Josh Allen is doing what he's doing. And I don't have the numbers also with me yet, but he's not having the best season for him, like at all. He's not having anywhere near the best season for him at all. And I just think we should start focusing more on okay, let's stray away maybe from our preconceived notions about how valuable the quarterback is and actually look at the team as a whole, and what the driving force has been behind that team. last year for the 49ers, I really thought it'd be McCaffrey who should win the MVP award. He really was the driving force behind the success of that team, not the quarterback. And that wasn't to say that the quarterback wasn't having a good year because he was in the MVP conversation. But the driving force of the team obviously was not the quarterback. Uh, and the value that Saquon has brought to the Eagles and how much better they are uh, because of it with him, I think has been. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Anything that maybe I'm saying that you guys don't agree with that I can try to explain a little bit different, or maybe you guys can reply backwards to something that I'm saying.
Mm, I mean I totally agree, but I think with so much biasm with it, it would take Saquon to break Eric Dickerson's record for
Which he's
him
on
to
pace to.
actually get it. Yeah,
He's on pace to do.
right. So unless he does that, everybody in the league is just going to look at him as another great player like they did McCaffrey last year. I
Yeah.
honestly think Tyreek should have won it last year. 1,800 yards, and they had the number one offense. You know,
Yeah.
with him getting double teamed all game, every game. I just think and he made the whole difference on the Miami Dolphins, and he made Tua a better quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's it's always up in the air with all these great players, but no,
Here's a hot
let's
take.
look at them.
Here's
Hmm.
here's a hot take for Allen. We said that he's not having the best year for himself, right? When
Statistical.
yeah, statistical year when you look at his previous years. Do you think
Mhm.
that's because he's not taking as many risks as he was before?
I think maybe he's a further evolving as a quarterback. Obviously, the turnovers have been way down, way down than in previous years. So he's taking care of the ball a little more. Um, Maybe it's the effect, the Diggs effect, like you said. Now he's not focusing on one sole target. Now he's trying to spread the ball around, which makes him try to be a little bit smarter when it comes to passing, which in turn makes him be, way better in the passing. Um, I just think if we're gonna just start awarding the MVP award to quarterbacks only just because of the disproportionate value that they offer, and it just can't be made up. I think if we're gonna do that, then let's just call it a quarterback award. Let's not call it the MVP award.
Yeah,
Um,
I can
I
see that.
I think if we're gonna start heading that route, we should just have like a best quarterback award. Name it the freaking Tom Brady award or Peyton Manning or whatever name you want to
Yeah.
the Montana Award. I don't know, whatever you want to call, and have that be awarded to the best quarterback, and have MVP stay MVP, and that can go to whomever. It can go to a quarterback again, you know. But I think if we're just gonna start solving what the most valuable player award really means, and just shift to a quarterback award instead, I don't. I think that can be. I think something can be done about that instead of just letting it happen.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind
I
of
mean,
like the Heisman.
The
hmm
Heisman, yeah, yeah.
that's how I feel like what the offensive that's how I feel the MVP is for QBs and then offensive player of the year is for skilled players, right?
Yeah, so let's
'Cause
just let's just start calling it what it is then, and let's
you know,
not continue with the MVP trend because the MVP is supposed to go to the MVP, not the
hmm
best quarterback.
yeah, or the quarterback on the winningest team,
Yeah, yeah. Like
you know.
last year, I knew Lamar was going to get it because he was having the best quarterback season, and while I never thought that he wasn't deserving to be in the MVP conversation, I just thought that there was somebody who deserved it more, who warranted getting the award more. And same this year. It's not that Josh isn't having a great year. I mean, obviously we're seeing it. Like it's not just stats. Like we're seeing him play amazingly. Um, I do think currently it is his MVP to lose, just because I think it's just going to go to a quarterback again. But I think Saquon should get it. I think Saquon should get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I still believe Josh Allen should get it, but that might be a little biased. I
I
just
think it's his to lose. At this point, it's his to lose.
I just think like with what he's able to do, like the Bills. I mean, obviously, like you said, it's such a disproportionate value that each position
Hmm.
brings. But
Hmm.
for a quarterback to be doing what he's doing, because some of these games, like you mentioned, play calling. Well, some of these games, it's literally just him. It's him trying to carry the team, using his legs, escaping pressure. There was like I think in the Rams game, I don't think he got sacked one time. Like he's one of the best QBs to not getting sacked during the year, right? Against the Chiefs game, right? In the Chiefs game, he used his legs to score that, right? Pretty much put the game
Hmm.
away. Against the Rams, same thing. They needed a play, and it was him who had to come up with the play. Against
Hmm.
the Niners, he had a great game as well. So I don't know. I mean, I think his stats don't show that because I don't think he's forcing things like he used to. He's not trying to play hero ball as much, even
Hmm.
though, I mean, he is throwing dots, man. I
Yeah.
watched that Rams game and I was scared every time that ball left his hands.
Oh, he was amazing. I mean, he put up
But
50 some points.
yeah, and so like the offense isn't, it's not a bad, it's the number two offense in the league as far as points
Hmm.
scored, with the Lions being number one, right? So
Hmm.
his drastic change in stats is not affecting the team's offense. I mean, if anything, they're actually better. But I think it's because he's protecting
Then
the
what does
ball
that
more.
then what does that say about the MVP conversation if he's reeled back what he's great at to having it be at a good level, not at a great level how he is, and the offense is still producing? How do
But
you I guess reconcile that?
well, because I think he's using I think what I consider his stats great, a lot of people did not consider his stats great because of the interceptions. Right? So he had 18
Right.
interceptions last year, and everybody
Last
used
year.
it against him for everything. Even though if you take out the interceptions for him and Lamar, he had better stats than Lamar. But everybody only looked at the interceptions.
Well, I mean,
So
you can't say everybody looked at the interceptions. You can't say everybody looked at this, the worst thing my offense could do.
oh,
And if you
hold on,
just take
repeat that.
out,
Hold on. Go again. It like cut out for some reason. Start from the beginning.
oh, uh, it, I was going to say, you can't really say, oh, let's take out the worst part about this from last year.
No,
Cause I mean,
absolutely.
it is part of it, you
Yeah.
know, but the reason I mentioned he's not having the best statistical year, by his own standards, wasn't to make an argument with it. It was just
No, I know.
even through that, people are still wanting to put him in the MVP conversation, and I do think he belongs in the MVP conversation, even like through that. But
No.
I just, you know,
I think he's a sick player. I mean, everybody was talking about it the day after last game. He broke um these two running backs' touchdown records or whatever, or like these
hmm
two running backs like touchdowns for their
hmm
career,
hmm
and he's a QB,
I
right?
think what was it? I think it was Barry Sanders,
I
wasn't it?
think it was Barry Sanders. I just wasn't sure, and there's another one,
Yeah, I
but
think it was Barry Sanders. I saw that earlier too. I saw that earlier this week too. That's funny.
it's crazy. So then, talking about offensive player of the year, right? Do we think
Hmm.
that Saquon is the shoe in? If he doesn't win MVP, should he be the shoe in for MVP for offensive player of the year?
um,
Absolutely.
I think the second person would probably be Derrick Henry. Maybe it shouldn't be Jamar Chase because that, I mean, because I know that's what you were thinking as soon as you made that face. I just don't think it should be Jamar Chase. I mean,
Because of record or because of
because of record. Because
okay.
I mean, then we should just put Burrow in the MVP conversation. Like screw the
Hmm.
record.
Okay.
I think it's statistical. Burrow's having a better year than Josh Allen.
Yeah, statistically.
Obviously it doesn't show in the wins loss columns, but if we're gonna go based off stats, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Only
that's
reason
like
I
that's
said Chase is because I think he's leading in receptions, uh, yards, and touchdowns. If I'm not wrong, he's
Yeah,
like
the
Mhm.
triple crown.
the triple
Triple
crown.
Crown.
Yeah,
I
but I
Hmm.
mean,
mean, like you said, I mean, stats, not stats, but record plays a big part in that. So,
hmm
I mean, you can't win offensive player of the year and not make the playoffs. That's kind of silly.
I, I mean, let's go back to the Josh Allen last year conversation. However many touchdowns he had just as many or a lot of interceptions, and it showed in the record. They were like a 10% to make the playoffs last year in like week 13 or 14 or something. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
So,
I remember.
so
We
obvi-
went to that game. We went to that game for number one in that division.
so obviously, like stats has something to do with it, but win loss record does as well. And it's not that the both are individually exclusive, but I mean,
I mean,
I don't know, I don't know.
but does win loss record actually have a lot to do with it? The only reason I'm saying this is because what if the Bengals make the playoffs? I saw a chart that they have to win out. The Colts and I believe the Broncos have to lose like 2 games, and I think the Broncos play the Bengals in one of those games. Anyway, they
Um,
have to win out, and let's say they do make the playoffs, and Joe Burrow has 45 touchdowns with 8 interceptions, and Jamar Chase is running away with all the all the wide receiver stats. Then what?
I could see offensive player of the year, and even then, I still can't see it for somebody who just squeaked into the playoffs. But I
mhm.
definitely don't see MVP for Burrow, even if he does make the playoffs.
Mm,
Well, then should we at that point just say, hey, the most valuable player award should go to a great or the best player on one of the best teams, but
yeah, yeah.
just for that award, offensive, defensive player of the year, those don't have to go to the
Mm-hmm.
wingingest team, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
That can just go to the actual offensive player of the year. At that point, yeah, give it to Chase.
Yeah. We'll see though. It's these
We'll
next
see.
4 weeks are gonna be intense. I can
We'll
assure
see.
you of that.
We'll see. Well, I think the MVP conversation is really going to start settling down this week. It's going to be a duel with Jared Goff and Josh Allen. I don't think Jared Goff is quite out of the MVP race just yet. I think if he has amazing performances in these next upcoming weeks, I think he can steal it. I think he can steal it right from under Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
They are tied for the best record right now.
First hurdle is going to be getting over that Lions team this weekend.
Yeah. And but like I said, in turn, if Jared Goff just has an amazing game against the Bills and then just keeps winning out the rest of the way, I know he had that. I know he had that really bad game against the Texans. I know he did. Uh, but if the rest of the year has just been impeccable, if without that Texans game, he's freaking 15-1 with whatever many stats he has. I
And he
find it
really shouldn't have
difficult to
lost
believe.
that game. That was a terrible 2 games. I will say he lost this year because of coaching. The Texans game for calling 3 pass plays at the end of the game in their own red zone, in their own uh, you know, inside the 10-yard line.
Gave
And the
him time.
second
Gave him so much time.
the second quarterback sneak call on the Rams when you know you needed all 3 timeouts to try to get the ball back.
Yeah, that was.
Two
Yeah.
crucial games that they lost because of coaching. Crazy.
Honestly,
All
and
right.
I know you guys might disagree, but they should have lost that Bears game too. I'm sorry. Or maybe even just sweated a little more than they did. But
The Lions.
yeah, the Lions. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was a coaching error on the Bears' part, but I
Well,
I, I don't know.
to touch real quick on the Bears and ask you what I wanted to ask you earlier, Kona.
hmm
Where do you think they go from here?
Truthfully,
He
this
was the
next game
favorite.
was
He was the favorite to win Rookie of the Year, and
it was.
now they're just out of it, and it's going to go to Jaden Daniels, and they're doing amazing.
Which I don't mind. It's like I said, it's the first year. Things happen first years. Not everyone has a great first year, but knowing that our quarterback is actually his development is all I care about from this point on.
Okay.
And this next game is going to tell a lot about who we need as a coach. Last week, we made that 49ers team that we saw last night. We made them look like Super Bowl champions. And
And last night,
right, and last night they couldn't even score a touchdown. So
oh man,
I honestly, and I saw this stat. It's Caleb Williams is in company with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and I believe Josh Allen, to where he's throwing a 3-1 ratio of 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. So I'm very happy about that. Obviously, you guys have seen the quarterbacks we had over the years.
Hmm.
So I think it just looks up, and our front office they just love making mistakes when it comes to head coaching. They said that the Colts were going to fire Eberflus before we hired him the year of. So that's another L on our part, but it's good to stay optimistic about our quarterback situation at least.
Yeah, you guys at least have the quarterback now.
Yeah,
Uh, Hopefully he develops into a franchise quarterback in these next few years. But I think you got to get the coaching, man. That that NFC North division it's tough.
it's
It's
going to be
tough.
tough for a long time, bro.
It's tough, and I think you guys can really make some headway. At least edging out the Vikings a little bit. I don't think what's that kid's name? The quarterback?
Sam Darnold?
No, no, the
Who?
the rookie who couldn't play this year.
Oh, McCarthy.
Yeah,
Oh,
JJ
McCarthy.
McCarthy. JJ McCarthy. I think
Yeah.
next year, is a good year for the Vikings to get got. You guys have, depending on your coaching selection, I think can really make some headway into getting to the playoffs in that division. And
Yeah, most
figure,
definitely.
yeah,
I honestly think we could beat anybody in the division. We showed it this year. We gave everyone in the division a tough game, but
yeah,
it all really comes down to just coaching and play
yeah,
calling and finding somebody right,
yeah. Coaching is super important. Coaching is super important.
especially keeping the guys behind you in the locker room. So that's all I'm worried about.
Yeah,
Well, speaking
and
about coaching,
let's go ahead and segue into our next topic then.
Ooh.
top five. I think Kona froze. Oh, you good?
Kona, can you hear us? Oh, Kona.
I know, I know.
Can you
Oh,
hear
you're
us?
still here though. Can you hear us?
I'm still here. Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Top five active NFL head coaches in the league. Question: do we have Shanahan on there in top five?
Because you had
Negative.
Mike Tomlin in there instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
You did have Mike Tomlin.
I honestly
Um,
think Mike Tomlin's a top three head coach.
well, what are we
Yeah, what
valuing in regards to coaching
yeah,
then?
what are we basing it on?
Are we valuing regular season success, postseason success, record, totality of career? What are we basing it off of?
Good
I'm
question.
trying to think of I'm trying to think of the last playoff game that Mike Tomlin won. Uh, while the last playoff game Kyle Shanahan won was the NFC Championship, and he lost in overtime the next game
See, but the thing with Mike
to
Tomlin
the one
is,
to one of the two greatest quarterbacks of all time right now.
but the thing with
So,
Mike Tomlin, the man wins. He finds a way, dude. He has not had a losing season, and I don't remember how long. Mason Rudolph at QB,
hmm
Kenny Pickett at QB.
hmm
You, your wide receivers were. I mean, I don't even remember the wide receivers back then, but like George Pickens recently, and then who? Like, there's nobody else on the team. You don't even have like a good tight end. Running back,
Whoa,
you
whoa,
had
whoa.
not.
Hey, don't make
Don't
fun of
don't
Oh,
Pharaoh
here
Ruth
we
like
go.
that,
yeah.
man.
Mute.
Here we go.
Don't get on my guy Pharaoh Muth like that, man. But
So that's like
so that is it consistency then that you value, or because I think that question is going to get answered this postseason now that he has Russell Wilson leading the team and what he's going to do in the playoffs. But take this year out and let's look at every single previous year this past decade. He's just stayed above 500, and that's it. That's
Hmm.
consistency, but that's not really anything else. That's showing me you have a consistent plan to win or to have some level of success during the regular season. But once it's the postseason, you just get outplayed, outcoached, outskilled. Now,
Mm,
some of it isn't his fault. Outskilled, I mean, in the sense of the players. I don't mean
no, yeah,
in for him.
yeah, exactly.
Obviously, personnel has a lot to do with success for a coach. Uh, but I mean,
I mean,
it's
hey,
only been these past couple of years that Kyle Shanahan has really had a super team over there. Before he was still making Super Bowls with freaking Jimmy Garoppolo.
Very true.
hold on, hold on.
I think
And
two of the categories you got to base it off at least is consistency and morale, because you have to have no matter who you have in the locker room, you have to have them fight for you. You know.
I do think that's super important. Um, I think both of those reflect how well you do in the postseason. I think that's why and I don't know about you guys, but that's why I put so much emphasis in postseason record and history when it comes to trying to grade, I guess, coaches and players. Because postseason has a lot to do with it. That's why the game is played. But what do you guys think about that? I don't know if you guys value postseason history as much when it comes to trying to rate coaches, players, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I try to look at the whole thing. Obviously, the playoffs. That's why I have Andy Reid. It's probably the number one head coach in
Hmm.
the league, active head coach.
Hmm.
Only reason I like Tomlin is because, I mean, unfortunately, he just hasn't had the best teams. I mean, that's just a fact. But he always like I don't know, always finds a way. So that's where that consistency play comes in. But then I also had Dan Campbell on there as well, right?
Hmm.
And like Connor was talking about morale. I mean, that whole Detroit team changed when Campbell came
Yeah,
in, and now
yeah.
look at where they are now, right? So same thing, winning, winning, winning. I mean, they definitely have a great squad there, but I feel like the team, offense, defense, they're on one page, and I think that's the head coach. That's the morale that Dan Campbell brought to that team to take them out of, I mean, shambles, really.
Do you think that some of his coaching decisions are maybe what's going to be holding him back from achieving the end goal? We saw it last year during the NFC Chip game. Uh, they almost lost versus the Rams round one, and came week one of this year. They got them to overtime. Uh, I just think decision making is maybe if anything goes wrong with the Lions, it's going to be decision making from the coach. Uh, I think the team is too skilled to be held back by anything else. But I really think it's going to be decision making that's going to be his undoing if anything goes wrong at all. But
I mean,
you know,
I could definitely see that too. But I think that's just his, I mean, that's just his coaching style, you know? I mean, high risk, high reward. That's pretty much how I think he sees things. It's
hmm,
like to win some of these games or to get take an advantage over some of these teams, we're gonna have to take some risks. And in his mind, you know, I believe my football team is the best team to take these kinds of risks, and it'll pay off. So it's like the same thing with Jameer Gibbs when he posted that picture of like the whiteboard with
hmm.
all like the names and the plays and
I believe
stuff.
that happened. I
It was
can't believe that
crazy.
happened.
And honestly, I thought he was going to be more upset about it, but from what it sounded like is I mean, I'm sure he did care, but he played it off like he didn't care. He's like, if that's what prevents our team from winning, then we just weren't good enough to win, right? Like he fully believes that his team,
Hmm.
no matter what decision he makes, his team is the best team to move forward with that decision, whether that be going for it on fourth down or not kicking, you know, an extra point to go for a 2 point conversion and win the game, like whatever it is. But to your point, some of those decisions, I mean, you're not gonna make all of those risks, right? You're not going to get rewarded every single time.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Right,
And
right,
maybe
right.
game on the line, you make one of those decisions and it doesn't work out and you don't get there, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I just think there's a difference between Dan Campbell and a guy like Brandon Staley from the Chargers 2 years ago. where he would always go on fourth
Hmm.
down, and everyone called him, a bum for basically doing all those and taking all those risks. But at that point, it just lands on the morale. Everyone on that team is
Yeah,
trusting Dan Campbell, and yeah, they don't get the fourth down, but they're not going to be like, man, he should have called something different, or
Nope.
this and that. They're like, you know what, we that this is how we are. This is Lions football, and this is how we're going to go out.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. That's how they all believe it.
Hmm.
he's such a good guy too, man.
He
Just
really
Yeah,
is. He really is.
every time I'm at work and I like come across one of the Lions TikToks and stuff, and it's like their post game in the locker room and stuff. Somewhere I just feel better. I just feel better after I watch it.
Yeah, it's
he
hard not to
genuinely
root for the
cries.
Lions. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, he genuinely cries when something good happens to his player, and it's like, who wouldn't want to play for a guy like that, bro?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so hard not to want to see them win, right?
Hmm.
It's so hard not
Yeah,
to want to see them win.
And being so successful in such a tough division too. I mean, they're just far and away the better team. Con, I think you muted yourself. Uh, the Lions
I
just
did.
seem they just seem you muted yourself again. They just seem
Yeah,
far and away the
he's
better
probably
team.
talking to his buddy.
Oh, true, true, true. Uh, moving on from one tough division to another tough division, the NFC West.
Oh,
Uh, as of right now, recording today's Friday, after Thursday night's football game of Week 15. So Week 15 or 14?
I always get
I
that
believe it's
confused, man.
15.
14.
I think it's
I think we're in
15.
14. I think it's 14. Week 14. Yeah, we're in Week 14. Uh, so this is Friday through Week 14, and we've seen the Rams 49ers game last night. Obviously, weather was horrible, and it obviously heavily impacted the game. But I mean, the game was what it was, and I think we have to take a look at what the game was and what came of it. We can clearly see, and the Bears game notwithstanding, I guess we've clearly seen that the Niners are, I think, just out of their Super Bowl window.
Yeah, it's over.
Oh yeah, for
Said it at
sure.
the beginning
Too
of the
many
season.
injuries. Too many injuries are stacking up. Uh, Contracts are coming up. People are going to have to get signed. Purdy has to get signed. It's going to take away money from the cap. And I don't know how that leaves that division because right now the Seahawks are in the lead of that division with the Rams right up behind them. Pause. But I mean, the Cardinals are also such a good team, such like a sneaky good team, and next year that division is going to be just as tough as the NFC North, and they might find themselves in a similar race that the Lions, Packers, Vikings, and Bears find themselves right now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, no,
they're
they're done.
definitely the NFC North of it.
What do you guys have any predictions for how the NFC West is going to pan out the rest of the year? Uh, I look up the schedule, but I think the last game that the Rams play is actually against the Seahawks, like
Mhm.
week 18. Um, but right now, I believe the Seahawks are in the lead of the division. Could
Hmm.
they lose this week, though? I think they might lose the lead.
If
I think
the
so. They play Green Bay, right?
The Seahawks, yeah, they play Green Bay,
Hmm.
and that's why I'm saying they should they lose this week. I mean, the Seahawks schedule is a little bit tough. They got the Packers coming up on Sunday, then it's the Vikings week 15, at Bears weeks. Am I tripping?
Christmas.
I don't,
Yeah, we play them on Christmas Day
yeah,
or Christmas
and
Day
yeah,
after.
then yeah, Christmas day after. And actually, the Seahawks play the Vikings. That's Sunday the 22nd, and then they play on Thursday again, 4 days later against the Bears.
If I'm not mistaken, they have 3 games in a span of 10 days.
Yeah, uh, yeah, the
Rams are taking
15th.
that, Rams are taking that.
Yeah, and solely based on
Yeah.
coaching. Sean McVay has been there before. He's won
Hmm.
it all. And to me, Seattle is so predictable when it comes to play calling. Mind you,
Mhm.
they have a first year coach. So he still needs to learn the ropes, in my opinion, because giving the ball to Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet 30, 35 times a game is only going to get you so far. You know, Sean McVay didn't use Cooper Cup more than one time last night and still be a 49er team that blew out the
Zero.
Bears.
Zero.
Puka
Yeah.
Nakua. Wow, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that team is nuts. You have Kyron
hmm
Williams in the backfield. You have Cooper
hmm
Cup, and then Puka Nakua and Stafford as your QB.
Don't sleep on Atwell either. That's a clutch receiver. That is
Yep.
a clutch receiver.
Who's the other guy? Demarcus Robinson, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And
they're
there's
not
another
terrible.
they have another really good running back. I forget what his name is. It might be
Blake
Williams.
Corum.
Something Williams. Okay, I'm thinking of the wrong person then.
Blake
But
Corum.
they have a really good second running back.
Dude, that team
Uh,
is nuts, man.
they sneak into
Yeah.
the playoffs. They're going to give somebody a lot of trouble.
Oh,
And if they sneak into the playoffs, it'd be because they won their division, which means they're getting a home game for the first round.
I could
Hmm.
definitely see that. I can definitely see them winning that division for sure.
hmm hmm Oh, I can't
Um,
wait. I can't wait for the postseason. Kono, what do
uh,
you? I mean, how do you feel about your Bears now that like, the NFC West is also really talented, probably the second best division in that conference? How do you feel about your Bears' chances of making the playoffs next year?
I still feel confident in it. I still think that we have a top five defense. We have the best, if not top three corner in the league. We have a great defensive end in Montez Sweat. TJ Edwards hasn't let me down since we signed him. We do need, like I said, we do need the guidance from a coach, but our defense and our upcoming QB, and we have DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. I might be biased on the weapons we have, but you know, these are blueprints that other teams have had and they've had success with. Having a great tight end,
hmm
uh, having a great number one, a shifty number two. I do believe that we won't have Keenan Allen next year, just
Yeah,
because of
I think he's
cap
getting a
and
little old. I think he's getting a little old too.
yeah, and the play style that we hopefully will get. It's
He's 32.
yeah, and honestly, he's done well for us this year, but to sign him for an extension and to have him until he's what 36, 35.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
Yeah.
he'll be 33 before the start of next season. So if he
Hmm.
gets a 3 year contract, I mean, he's going to be 36 by the time he finishes.
I would rather put those 3 years towards Roma Dunze, develop him a lot faster
hmm
than letting him sit at the number three because he's done really well too, and the chemistry's there. But
Yeah.
I don't see. I mean, we beat the Rams this year. I don't see us losing as bad as we did this year to the Cardinals next year.
hmm
Um, we gave Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit all one score games, and everyone thought we would be blown out in every single one of those games. So I mean, it's there, and I truly believe we can do it. But I don't see other teams like Washington or dare I say Philadelphia. I don't see them as like, man, we're gonna lose, or we're gonna lose bad, or Dallas,
hmm
and so the NFC is always for me not an easy, but it's definitely a more confident side. Now, when we're talking the AFC, that's when it gets a little scarier when it
I don't
comes
know,
to the
man.
Ravens.
The NFC race, the NFC playoff race is going to be really tough because you're going to have your four division winners, and then you only have three more spots after that. Uh,
Right.
Touching back on the NFC West, obviously the Seahawks are a good team. Let's assume it's going to be one of those teams that wins the division. It's either going to be the Seahawks or the Rams in the playoff race next year. Packers or Vikings, and you guys in the playoff race.
Hmm.
And, God forbid, then Kyle Shanahan figures something out with the Niners and the Cardinals are just as good again next year. They'll also be in the playoff mix. The NFC is going to be it's going to be an interesting story to watch develop over the next few years for the playoff race because I think they're finally getting some good quarterbacks. I always thought all the great quarterbacks from the AFC and the NFC was mostly just carried by rosters. But I mean, you got Stafford in there. Goff, should he? I still have my reservations regarding Goff, but you got J Lo, Jordan Love. If Caleb Williams is all that he lives up to be, we're just gonna have a really competitive NFC playoff picture next year, and
Yeah,
it's gonna be some good football to watch. I'm excited.
yeah, but that's what scares me. The only thing that really does scare me is we can have those tight races, but at the end of the day, it always just comes down to coaching, man. This last couple of years, all the AFC teams, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Steelers, everybody, the Bengals, and it's always the same teams, and it's always the same coaches that end up pulling it off, and it's I don't know, man. I'm honestly I can't wait for next season, but I'm excited to see what this season, who wins this season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this year's this year's gonna be fun. This year's playoff picture is gonna be really fun.
Oh yeah.
Do we have any other topics we want to touch on? I know we had free agency, but I feel like it's still a little too early to talk about free agency.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Gabe's joining,
Yeah,
obviously.
obviously.
So we should probably get our bets
Yeah, sure.
Do it.
bets through. Lakers game is just starting in a bit, so
And to all
Oh,
the
is it?
fans, we're sorry that Moneyline Man isn't here, but you know what? We're gonna make him make it up for it next week.
yeah, he better just give us W's all next week.
Yep.
W's in the shot. W's in the shot.
Unbelievable.
Oh man. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and start the betting part of our podcast. Uh, should we do? Well, yeah. Let's start out with the regular spreads or money lines.
I can start us off.
Let's do it.
Josecito,
First
fearless leader,
one,
please.
first one on the board. This one will come a shock to everybody. Bills money line this weekend. I am taking the money line this weekend. They are beating the Lions if it's the last thing that they do. They will
Ooh.
beat the Lions this weekend. I am taking that, and I might just take it by itself, and I might just put $100 on it. I don't know yet.
Ooh. In
Second one
Detroit?
in Detroit. In Detroit.
Okay.
Second one. Second one. McDermott needs to make up for that blunder over in the Rams, and he's gonna make it up this weekend with Detroit. So second one I
It's
got.
gonna be such a good game to watch.
I have Commanders minus 7.5. I'm taking
Oh
that full
fuck.
spread. Give me that full spread against. I don't even know who the starting QB for the Saints is, but I'm taking minus 7.5. I think Lattimore is playing this weekend for the first time for the
Yeah,
Commanders.
Yep.
yeah. He's making his debut. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So give me that 7.5. And the last one, Bengals money line this weekend. Bengals money line. That's what I got.
Wow.
Okay.
Mhm. Feel free
Okay,
not to
I'm
take the
taking
Bills. Feel free. Look, I know that
so
they're
we have the
underdogs.
Bills. So we have the Bills money line, Commanders minus 7.5, and Bengals
Bengals.
money line.
Oh,
I like it.
yeah.
I like it. Who are the Bengals playing?
Titans, I think.
I'm in the wrong week. Sorry. They're playing the Titans?
I think so.
Oh my God, Mac Jones is gonna have the day of a
Wait, is
lifetime
it
on
is
there.
it Titans or Jags?
They're
Let's
playing the
see.
Titans, I believe.
Do I not see that? Yeah, the Titans. Because the
Okay.
Jets are playing the Jags. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis,
they're
baby.
playing.
Not gonna do it.
They are playing the Titans. All right. Kona, would you like to go?
Alrighty. So I'm gonna start off, and I'm taking the Dolphins plus 4 at the Texans. They are, uh, but the Dolphins are red hot, and for them not to be favored in this game after the Texans all the
You're breaking up, Kona.
No, we've been
No.
doing so good.
Oh, you're back. You're back. All right.
Hold on,
uh,
hold on. You said Dolphins
okay, I'm
plus
back. I'm
what?
back.
Plus 4,
Plus
right?
4.5.
Okay.
4.5.
Yep. The line is sitting at 2.5, but just to be sure, the Dolphins they scared me last week, so I'm gonna go take them at 4.5.
Okay.
Okay, my second one, I'm gonna double down with you, JJ, and I'm taking the Bengals minus two
Oh,
and a half. The Bengals, You know, it seems like an easy win, but they love keeping the other team involved. So we're gonna give them at least a field goal this week. So I'm gonna take the minus 3.5 or 2.5 against the Titans.
Okay.
And my shocker of the week, I'm taking New England plus 6.5 against Arizona. They've covered the last three times against the spread, and
Oh man.
I don't know. They're sneaky. They're sneaky, you know. And Arizona, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on over there. They should be better than what they did. They are, seeing how I've been riding Kyler Murray in fantasy all year. Pause. But I'm taking New England plus 6.5.
Awesome.
Okay. I like it. That's
Mr.
6.5.
Kev.
Well, uh, I was just the reason I was looking over to the left is because both of you took two of my picks. So I initially also had the Commanders, and I initially also had New England plus 6.5. Uh, but not to worry, I got some backup picks.
Nice.
I got the Chiefs money line versus the Browns. Their spread is at -4. I think if you'd like to take the spread, I don't foresee the Chiefs dropping that game. But if you want to be safer, Chiefs money line. Take the Chiefs money line. The next game I got is the Jets at the Jaguars with the Jets -3.5.
Okay.
You guys know my history of not wanting to bet on the Jets. They are unreliable, completely wholly unreliable. But the Jags are in free fall, and I think Aaron Rodgers is now playing for his job, for his starting job for next year. We've seen how badly he's done this year, and his job is in jeopardy. So I think he's going to be playing out of his mind, and I think -3 points is too little for vindictive Aaron Rodgers. Uh, and then the last game that I have for you guys is actually going to be, where is it? Right here. I got the Chargers versus the Bucks, and I got the Bucks plus 2.5. I think the Bucks are now playing for the division now that the Falcons, are in the state that they're in, and I think it's going to be a really good game. If anything, it'll be a couple point game at the end of it. And while the Chargers are very good, coached by Jim Harbaugh, I just think Baker's having an amazing year. I think he's having one of the best years of his career, and he will will Tampa into the playoffs. And I think giving him 2.5 points is just it's a take.
Okay.
Hot take. I like it.
I like it. I like it.
Hot take.
Moving on to player props this week. I have three for you.
Oh,
I have the man, Jamar Chase, over 6.5
nice.
receptions.
Okay.
I'm taking his reception, dude. My goodness, that man always open. That
Mm-hmm.
man wore a 7-Eleven shirt, always open. It's insane, insane.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow, man. I'm really worried about the Bengals team. But good, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm moving on to the Eagles. I have AJ Brown over 4 receptions, over 3.5 receptions. I'm taking the alternate line. Give me 4 receptions because I don't know what's going on, but he complained, and I hope Hurts hears him and gets him the ball. Okay,
This
AJ
is this
Brown.
is after I'll touch on it after the segment. I'm
No,
sorry.
AJ Brown needs that ball, so please. And the last one, you won't ever guess what game we're going to. We're going to Buffalo and Detroit, baby. We are taking Josh Allen.
Josh Allen
Surprise.
over rushing yards.
Over
Oh,
258 and
passing
a
yards.
half passing yards.
Ooh,
He's gonna have to air that ball out if they're gonna win. So
yeah,
I'm doubling down
yeah.
on my Bills money line with Josh Allen over passing yards.
Hey, that's our guy. That is our
That's
guy.
I'm telling you, come on, baby, make us some money.
Oh man. All right, so we have Chase over 6.5 receptions. AJ Brown over 4.5. You said
Over four, so over 3.5.
over 3.5, and Josh Allen over 258. I like it. I like it. Kona.
All right, I will start off and I'll keep the wide receiver trend going. I'm going Garrett Wilson, alternate 5 catches in his game.
Okay.
I think that they got him more involved the last week and very streaky from what I've learned in fantasy. So I think his
Yeah.
streak keeps going this week. So I like him for 5 catches this week. Again, Mr. JJ, I'm doubling down with you. I'm taking Jamar Chase, alt line
Mm.
over 80 yards. I think I
Over
think the Glaze
80.
from over 80. I think that
Okay.
Tennessee Titans team, they couldn't stop a nosebleed, and now Mr. 7-Eleven's coming back in town. It's gonna be a clinic for those guys out there.
Yup.
Yeah, I
And
love
my
you so
last
much,
one.
Jonah, bro.
And my last one, I am taking, and this is be wary on this one because I don't know the status of Lad McConkey, but I like
Oh,
Joshua Palmer at alt line 4 catches. I seen that Will Disley is doubtful for the game. The run game can't do really much anything without J.K. Dobbins and Quentin Johnson. You just never know if that man's gonna have a bucket of popcorn before the game every week. So
You said Joshua Palmer over what?
over 4 catches alt line.
All right.
So be wary on his
yo, I
line.
am dying.
Take it with a grain of salt, but just keep an eye out on that
Oh,
game and see what Lamb McConkey's game status is, and you know go from
I
there.
like it. I like it.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right, I got a couple for you guys. I got. I'll start out with my sleeper because I think Jonathan knows which one my lock is. Jerry Judy over 69 and a half receiving yards. Not reception, sorry, receiving yards. Over 69 and a half receiving yards. Kansas defense is struggling a little bit, and Jameis Winston is hot and cold, and Jesus Christ, he might get most of it in one pass. So who knows? He
Yep.
might get most, if not all of it, in one single pass. Who knows? And my lock, I'm going back to all reliable. Bo Nix over 16 and a half rushing yards. 16 and a half rushing yards. That, I mean, they would have to print money out and give it to you like at your door for it to be any more free. That is the freest of money that I've ever
That
heard.
is so
16,
free. Wow.
come on. That's it for my player props. Got two.
All right.
That's good.
Touchdowns. Touchdowns. Moving on to touchdowns. Touchdown lock. You might know this man. Brian Robinson Jr. Okay, I am taking his touchdown. Always take my
Yeah, we
man's
played again.
touchdowns.
We're playing the
Commanders are
same.
playing the Saints.
Yeah, Saints, Saints.
And the sleeper, Kevin. I'm gonna go with you, man. Jerry
Oh yeah.
Judy this weekend. Sleeper touchdown. I feel the same exact way. It might be
Let's
one
go.
70-yard play for a touchdown
One
to Jerry Judy.
one bomb. One bomb is
Yup,
all it takes, man.
yup, 100%.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I think the only thing I don't like about us is that if we're right, I think Jared's playing Jared Judy, and he's gonna get those points. I think that's the only thing I don't like about that.
God,
Wolf.
man, I can't believe it. I'm so glad Jared didn't make the playoffs. That's what he gets.
That's-
It's so poetic.
hey, hey, you know what? Since Jared freaking says he watches these all the time, we're really gonna see. Hey,
Oh yeah.
Jared, guess what? Guess who was the one who told Jay to pick up a tight end? It was me all along. It was me. It was me. And ask me if I'm sorry. Bet the under because I'm not. I'm not even sorry at all, buddy.
Oh,
You know what? Nah,
that's
you deserve it.
hilarious. That's hilarious. I
Kev, go now. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead next. Let me handle
Go
something
there.
quick, okay?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Let me go then with my anytime touchdowns. I got two, maybe three if you feel a little spicy. My lock of the week, DeAndre Hopkins, anytime touchdown. I think this is going to be like a like a game that the Chiefs like try to really win in order to maximize the rest of their season and rest versus rust, that whole thing towards the playoffs. So I think this is the last uh, game that they're gonna like go and trying to win. And I think DeAndre Hopkins gets a touchdown. My sleeper, Rico Dowdle,
Ooh.
anytime touchdown. The Cowboys
Oh
are just gonna be.
man, I wish you would have said that last week. I was banking. I was hoping on a prayer for him last week.
Oh, sorry, couldn't. But the Panthers are the Panthers, and I think they're really going to try to see what they can do with the roster that they have currently for the rest of the year. They might focus on the run, which they did last week, and if that's any evidence of what they're doing for the rest of the year, Rico Dowdle is going to be taken off for a touchdown. Uh, Alternatively, if you felt spicy and you feel like a lock bet, you want to include Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown. I mean, they're playing the Giants. On my notes, I have like LOL, Giants LOL. So yeah.
Derek
DeAndre Hopkins,
Henry.
anytime touchdown. Rico Dowdle, anytime touchdown. And if you feel spicy, Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Mr. Ona.
I am here. Okay, I'm sorry for the delay. I am back. All right, so for this week, I had 5 picks, but now we're gonna drop them down to 4. I got 2 sleepers and 2 locks for you guys. My
Holy.
first lock. Yep, my first lock. I'm taking Zay Flowers against the minus 1500 against the Giants. After that bye week, I think they're gonna get him more involved,
I
and
hope
I think
so.
they're gonna
That'd be
need him.
Marissa.
They're gonna need him in playoffs. So I think they start rolling with this week and taking him as one of my locks. My second lock of the week is Mr. Garrett Wilson. Once again, I just think again he's on a little streaky path that he always likes to go on,
Mm-hmm.
and who better to do it than against the Jaguars? So those are my 2 locks of the week. Now my two
The
sleepers.
sleepers.
My two sleepers. My first sleeper, I am taking James Conner against New England. New England's rush defense has not been also good all year, and from what I realized, they just love giving the ball to that man. So I'm taking James Conner with my first one. And my second sleeper, the only reason I didn't want to take him as a lock is because he had to get his touchdown in overtime. He had to get all his stat line in overtime
Mm.
last week.
Jonu
Mis-
Smith.
Mr. Johnu Smith. Once again, I thought his streak was over last week, but they needed him more than ever in that overtime game. So
Mm-hmm.
taking it with a grain of salt, but you know what? I think he gets it done one more time.
Love it.
I like
Hmm.
it. I like it.
Yes, sir. So I'm feeling.
I like it. Oh man. JJcito. Um, well, that concludes the betting part of our pod. Um, we already had the discussion part of the pod.
So it's that
Uh,
part of the pod.
yeah, yeah.
So how was your day?
Well, please bid us adieu, JJcito.
Oh gosh. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate both of you for being here today and being prepared. Definitely think we had some good conversation today. I mean, I was looking forward to today, honestly. It sucks we couldn't do
Yeah,
it
me too.
yesterday, but
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
mean,
sorry again. We couldn't do it yesterday. Sorry, sorry. I was getting into
yeah,
some stuff.
that's all right. I mean, we talked about MVP, we talked about Offensive Player of the
Hmm.
Year, we talked about head coaches, right? Talked about the NFC West. I mean, a lot of good conversation today, and different insights on different things. So I
Hmm.
love the bets that we all have. Kona,
Hmm.
spicy, 2 locks and 2 sleepers for touchdowns. I can't wait to take that this weekend.
I like it.
And I know that we said we felt good last time, and it wasn't good, but I think this time. This
This
might be
time,
that time.
for sure.
Yeah, this might be that time. So
For
pre-
sure.
I appreciate everybody tuning in. Gabe sucks, as we all know. Freaking useless.
He
Can't
does.
literally be here for an hour apparently. Um,
Hates us.
but whatever, it's fine. We made it work. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment on the video, show it to everybody. Show it to your mom, your dad, your cousin, your nephew, your
Mm-hmm.
coworker, your mailman.
Mm-hmm.
Show it to
Mm-hmm.
Kev when he's stopping by. So,
No, don't show
um,
it to me. I wanna hurry up and go. Don't show it to me.
so
Just wave at me.
I'm looking forward to the weekend. Can't wait to see how these games play out. Tune into that Bills Detroit game. It's gonna be a great game.
It's gonna be a
And
great game. That Steelers Eagles game. I wanted to touch on that a little bit, but
Ooh.
I mean we can review it next week when we know what happened. But I think that Eagles Steelers game is gonna be really good.
that should be a really good game too. So we actually
That
have good
that
games this
should
weekend.
absolutely that should help also try to cement Saquon's MVP case. I mean,
Hmm.
if Josh completely shits the bed against the Lions and Saquon has another game of his life this week,
Yeah. So
Ooh. I can't
let's
wait.
do.
Or both of them have their game of their life, and then
man,
we're
it's
talking about this the next week again.
oh,
Same thing. We're having
yeah.
the same conversation.
I can't wait.
So
Guys, please tune in next week to our regularly scheduled episode of SK Sports Banter. Kona, sign us off.
Thank you for viewing. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your mother, tell your brother, and we'll see you next week.